everybody, it's me, Kecia. It's so good to have you guys join me again today. We're going to continue, as promised, to dive right into part 2 of how a single mother should prepare for a husband, right? So I hope you found some value in what I said part 1 and what we hashed out through that one. I'm not going to revisit that. If you're interested, you haven't seen part 1, please go and look at my first installment to this series, right? And so we're going to just keep moseying right along, jumping right into it. I'm going to be very direct, loving, but direct, right? So we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about physical upkeep. Number 1, that's what I hope to cover first. We're going to talk about health and well-being, right? Health and well-being, physical health and well-being. And then we're going to talk about mental health, mental, emotional health and well-being. So we're going to knock all through those right now. So buckle up. Hope you enjoy, okay? All right, so let's dive right in. What do I mean by physical upkeep? All right, I mean, number 1, I mean weight and size. That's what I'm talking about, weight and size, right? A lot of us are heavier than we need to be, right? And I'm not trying to bash my sisters in the Lord who are heavier. I'm not trying to bash you. I'm being honest with you. Right? The reason I'm being honest is because the whole reason that you're looking at this, hopefully, is because you're trying to prepare yourself for a husband. You're single for whatever reason. Maybe you went through a divorce and you're single for that reason. You have a few kids. Perhaps you were never married, but you have children, right? Or you've adopted some children. Or you are fostering children, you have relatives' children. I know my husband and I raised our nephew, and so there are different circumstances for different people, right? But the bottom line is, if you're watching this, chances are you are a single mother, right? And you don't want to be single. You'd like to get married, and you might be searching the Lord and praying about if marriage is going to happen, right? And I know that there's some of you out there who are hesitant to dive into any regimen whatsoever because what if I don't get married, right? I've wasted my time. I assure you that you're not wasting your time, that everything that I'm going to advise you of and through is going to be beneficial to you whether you marry or not. Okay, so don't worry about wasting your time and doing something for a man. Although we're going to talk about that a little bit, that mindset that says, what am I doing, what I'm doing for a man. We're going to talk about that mindset a little bit. But we're going to dive into, we're going to continue talking about the physical upkeep, right? There's such a thing as height-weight ratio, right? We, at a certain height, we should be a certain weight, not over it. Right? We should be proportioned. When we are considering or wanting to be considered rather for a husband, he's going to see us first. He's going to see you. He's going to look. He's going to see something that's appealing or not appealing or something that he might be attracted to, but he's going to see it first, chances are, right? Across the crowded room, at church, at a girlfriend's party, whatever the circumstances are, he's going to see you. And what he sees is going to make an impression. Right? And so if we are overweight and not paying attention to those things, then we will find ourselves missing out. Right? The last video I talked about how we are there's a competition going on. And you might think, well, I don't need all that. I want somebody to love me for who I am. Right? Listen, I understand what you're trying to say, but I'm just saying that is a cop-out. Right? Let me tell you why. Because if you're buying furniture you're buying a car, looking for an apartment or a house or whatever it is, you are considering lots of things. You're looking at the price, you're looking at the durability, you're looking at the color, right? All those things are going through your mind, right? Well, is this going to look good in my space? Is this worth the investment? Man, they want $1,500 for that bedroom set, or they want $3,000 for that living room set. Is it worth the price? You're looking at reviews. You're asking people, do they know about the brand? Have you bought from this furniture store before? Right? Thing about it is, this is for something temporal. It's for the house, right? Fine, making educated decisions and educated choices about money, and how we spend it and how we invest it, right? Great. I don't have a problem with that. But if you put all that emphasis and energy on buying something for your house, right? And you think a man is just supposed to come along and pick you up just because you want to be picked up, marry you just because you're all right, you're cute, you have a good personality. But think about how much consideration and contemplation you put into your investment of money. This man is looking at a lifetime, right? If he's a Christian man, he wants to be married to you for life, till death do us part. He has a right to consider everything about you, right? What is this gonna lead to? What may she possibly look like? Of course, we can't control the future, but you know what? That man is going to do a pretty good job at trying to project where his life is going to go with you, right? We can't control it, but he's thinking about it. And if we're not taking care of our bodies, our temples of the Holy Spirit, the way we're supposed to, we might find ourselves being left alone, single mothers, and forever, and you might be content with that. And if you are, once again, this video is not for you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to a single mother who wants to be married. And I'm telling you, if you're watching this, one of the things you're going to have to get on top of is your weight. You're going to have to be on top of that. You're going to have to find ways. Now, let me tell you, I hate exercise. I hate all forms of exercise. So it boils down to me the decision boils down to which exercise do I hate the least, right? The one I hate the most is running. Hate running. I've always hated running, right? Which one do I hate the least? The least is weightlifting. That's the one I hate the least. So that's the one I do. A weight lift, right? It's sort of enjoyable in a annoying kind of way, right? Because I know not only am I doing this for the upkeep of myself, taking care of my temple, we have little kids to run after. I want to be in good health. I want to be able to worship here on this earth as long as the Lord has intended. And another huge reason for taking care of my body is for my husband. I want him to look at me and be pleased. I want him to see me. I want him to be attracted to me. I want him to be checking me out when I don't even know he's doing it, right? So those things are very important. We need to be paying attention to that. Physical upkeep is very important, ladies. It's not something that we should put on the back burner, right? We need to find what we need to do with our bodies to move around and get to the correct weight-height ratio, right? There are lots of calculators online. You guys research some and find one and find out where you are. Go ahead and look it up. You know where you are. You know where you have to get to, right? Don't bury your hand in the sand. I don't know. I know I'm overweight. Find out how much overweight. Find out how overweight you are. Find out. Find these things out, and you might be surprised at either how little you have to lose or maybe how much you have to lose. But it's a plan, it's a goal, and you can make progress, right? And so don't run away from this. This is important, right? It is also your health, right? It's also your well-being. It could be contributing to all sorts of things, just being overweight, right? And so we need to pay attention to that. We need to be serious about it. Men are serious about this. Future husbands are serious about it. From one extent to the next, a man is going to be looking, checking you out, trying to figure out where you are now and where you're going to be. That's just real talk, right? So I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm speaking the truth in love. This is something that needs to be said, right? We have an obligation to take care of ourselves much better than what we're doing. Okay, and so hear me on that. Another area that's physical, that goes into physical upkeep, is our hair, right? I have nothing against extensions and or any of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're going to get something done, it needs to look done right. It needs to be done right, right? You have natural hair, fine. I wear my hair natural, usually in the summer when it's hot. I twist outs, braid outs, all of that. I understand, right? But if you're going to wear it natural, it needs to be well maintained, right? If you're going to wear extensions and wigs and all that, it doesn't need to look like an extension or a wig. Back in the day, those women wore wigs. You didn't know they had on a wig. All right, I thought that was my auntie's hair. You know, I thought that was Sister So-and-so at church. I thought it was their hair. You go over to dinner one night and they take it off and you're like, oh my goodness, right? We need to be looking at that. We need to be paying attention to that, right? Making sure we're well maintained. Making sure our hair is nice, our face, right? Makeup. You go out of the house, you're a single mother, right? You once again, look good, right? I know you don't always look your best. I did a video the other day and I didn't have any makeup on, right? But I look decent. But I'm married, right? And so I don't let that thing go by the wayside. But I still want you to have a standard in which you're saying, I'm going out of the house. Potentially, my husband might find me out of the house at this particular time. Let me pay attention to how I look. Let me pay attention to what I'm wearing. Let me pay attention to my hair and my makeup, right? Let me do this because I don't know when the Lord might reward me in this particular way and grant me the secret petitions of my heart. So let me make sure that I'm on top of doing what I need to do, right? I know that when I was a single mother, money was tight. It was. And I didn't have the funds to go and get my hair done or any. And at that time, I had a relaxer. I don't have a relaxer anymore, but at the time, I had a relaxer. And I was getting relaxers regularly, 6 to 8 weeks. But I wanted to look nice. And I could relax my own hair, but it was just a lot working full time, 3 sons depending upon me. It was just a lot. So I started going to the beauty school, and I would let these students work on my hair, and I would always call for one of their teachers to supervise. I would always have someone else there because, they're students, and I'm one of those people that are very particular about certain things. And back then I was getting roller sets, y'all, and stuff like that. And so, that was a financially feasible way to upkeep my hair and upkeep myself at the time, right? And so I paid, $25 or something like that, and I would leave a nice tip for the student, and I would come on a regular basis. That's all I could afford. That's what I did, right? My boys, they needed haircuts, and sometimes I would take them there and try to vet somebody to cut their hair, right, so that they can walk around looking decent, because that's a part of my advertising right there, right? My kids looking all shabby and torn up. I need to make sure their hair is cut and maintained, right? It would have been nice, if that wasn't something I had to be responsible for. And I wasn't always responsible, but, I was a single mother. I had custody of our children, and I was responsible for that. Doesn't matter what it should have been. It only matters what it was, right? And so that was another big thing. So if you can't afford to do your hair and you need some help, I would just encourage you, go look at some beauty schools in your area if that's a possibility, and check them out and see, just see. I don't know. It worked for me. It may not work for you. Maybe you know how to do your own hair, and maybe you have the time, and so on and so forth. I didn't, so it worked. Another thing I did during this period of time when I was financially strapped is I fell in love with Goodwill, Salvation Army, and thrift stores. Fell in love with. I could afford the things in there, and I knew I had a knack, and I still do have a knack for shopping in secondhand stores for things that are very nice, right? And so I'm not in the same financial situation I was in then, but I still enjoy thrifting. Man, I can go in and find stuff, and I like it. I'm excited about finding, these great bargains at these awesome prices, right? And I like not spending all my husband's money. I enjoy buying stuff that I need. I'm not a big shopper, but when I do need things, I'll buy some things retail, but I really enjoy thrifting. I really enjoy secondhand stores. That's just me. Everybody doesn't, right? I found it out of a necessity because I was working now. I was in a workplace. My children couldn't be homeschooled anymore because I needed to work full time. And that was an answer to me, going to the thrift store, finding things, right? And so that was a part of my upkeep, right? I wanted to look nice. I went to work. I looked really good. No one knew I had gotten my outfit from Salvation Army. No one knew I had gone to a consignment store. Nobody knew that, right? Nobody knew that I got my hair done at a beauty school. Nobody knew any of that. All they knew was that I showed up and I was polished and ready to go, right? And so those are just some tidbits that I'd like to share with you, because I didn't know. I figured my way through this whole thing. I didn't have a coach or a mentor or anybody, telling me these things specifically. I thankfully to the Lord for His wisdom, for leading me in the way I should go and guiding me with these principles that I needed. I didn't realize how important they were until, you come out of it and you start meditating on what the Lord did and what He showed you. And these are the things that He definitely showed me. So anyway, that's what I want to say about upkeep. And so we've talked about weight and weight loss and maintaining that weight. Right? And how do we do that? We need to exercise. We need to change some of our eating habits, right? Some of us are eating the wrong things at the wrong time, or some of us are eating all the time, right? The processed foods, the fast foods, which is basically processed food fast, right? No fruit, no vegetables, right? We're not drinking enough water. A lot of us are walking around here dehydrated. Right, with all kinds of issues that stem from that, right? We are pre-diabetic and high cholesterol, right? At the brink of having a stroke, blood pressure through the roof. We have issues that we need to be paying attention to. You're talking about, I want a husband. You're sick. Even though you may not feel really, really bad, chances are, if you're overweight, right, you're either ill, sick now, or you're going to be, right? And so it's time now. What better time to concentrate on what you need to do than now? Let me read you something. Of course, I was gonna get to it. And let me do just that. So I'm in Titus 2. Of course, you know. And I'm going to read that chapter, Titus 2. But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and in steadfastness. Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the younger women to, one, love their husbands and their children, and to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. Right? I'm gonna stop right there at verse 4. Right? And then I'm gonna circle back. So the older woman, verse 4, is to train the young women to love their husbands and children, also to be self-control. Self-control. Let's pause right there. Self-control. Right? Because physical upkeep has a lot to do with self-control. It's not only what you are not letting yourself do. Right? I'm not letting myself eat after 8. I'm not letting myself, so on and so forth. It's not only about what you're not going to do. Self-control also has to do with what you are going to make yourself do. Right? I'm going to get up. I'm going to have my time with the Lord, spiritual disciplines, right? I'm going to have my time with the Lord. I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to listen to my Bible. I'm going to do my devotional. I'm going to sit and be quiet before Him and hear, and hear my spirit and worship Him and see what it is that He is impressing upon me, right? That's discipline. That's self-control. Get up. Get those things done, right? In the morning. Give praise to the only true and living God, right? And then get up and go and exercise. You like walking? Walk. But walk consistently. Walk like you have goals to meet. Now, let me go ahead and make a confession, all right? When my first marriage dissolved, I had to get to the doctor, because I had to make sure that I hadn't gotten anything that would jeopardize my reproductive health. And it was just the nature of what was going on in that marriage as it was falling apart for years, and the things that I have been exposed to that I didn't know, right? Thanks be to the Lord that none of that happened, and I didn't contract anything. But listen, if you went through anything like that, or you were promiscuous before the Lord saved you, and all of those things were going on, you need to get to the doctor, right? You need to get to the doctor to make sure you're okay. You need to get yourself checked out, right? Now, how does that point into with a future husband? I need to be able to tell this man that I don't have anything. I'm fine, right? Or I had this and it's gone now, right? Or this is something that I'm going to be battling. I don't know what your circumstances are, and I pray none of you are experiencing any of that, but I did. And it did come up. It came up. When he came and found me, that came up. He wanted to know, and vice versa. But he wanted to know, how are you health-wise? After you tell your story, there are question marks that start popping up. Oh, really? That happened. So, he's looking for a wife. He has a right to ask questions about our health and our well-being. So we need to have the answers. So it's okay to get, and you should, I urge you, find yourself a doctor, get a checkup, get some tests run, and make sure you're okay, right, in that particular area. I also wanted to be able to tell him that I could have children. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I can give you babies. That was important. He wanted more children, and we had more children, and I needed to be able to tell him that. And so that's another reason. That's something else we need to be paying attention to, right? But that's important to do, and we have an obligation to the next person, to the Lord first, right? Of course, we want to know that we're okay, right? We should. And we also want to be able to tell our husband, our future husband, I'm okay. This is what I went through. This is where I am now. This is what happened to me, whatever the circumstances are. But our health and wellness, right, is going to play into that physical upkeep. They both kind of go hand in hand, right? And so that's important for us to go forward with. And so when we're exercising, we're making healthy choices. We need to find out what healthy choices we need to be making for, as far as food-wise. Everybody doesn't need the same foods. Everybody didn't need the same foods. In terms of how we should be eating, right? So you hear buzzwords, keto and paleo and vegans and vegetarians. I don't even know if they're vegetarians anymore. I don't know. But anyway, all these things are out there. You hear about fasting. There's short-term fasting and long-term fasting, and go and sit down and educate yourself about the benefits of these things, or the problems with them. Find out. You need to know. You're gonna, don't just jump into something. It might be a fad. You jump into it and find that you're worse off, right? Find somebody that you can, who would commit to researching with you and finding out about these things. Don't just take, your cousin's word for it, or, some guy, your brother knows. Find out for yourself. What is healthy eating? What does that look like for me? How late should I be eating? What should I be eating if I'm working out? The calories change, the demands of the body changes. You need to be knowing what it is that your body is requiring of you, right? And so I am a big, I'm a big low carber, I'm a keto person. I also fast on occasion, usually when it's the warmer months. I usually don't fast in the cooler, colder months, or whatever. I do juice fasting. We've done bone broth fasting. There are things that you can put into place. But once again, do your research and find out what will work for you, right? But it's 2022. It is time. It is a great time to change some of the habits that we've grown up with, to do things a little differently than we've done in the past, right? If you were married before, maybe you did some things in the past and that was okay. But now, today is a new day. You can start over, right? And you can take care of your body and take care of your physical well-being, right? You can have your body checked out to make sure that you are able to A, either have children, or B, not have them because something, you decided and made a decision years ago that you didn't want any more children. Is that still intact? Is that still working? Things happen. You need to know as you're going forward. You need to know for you, and you need to know for a future husband. He has the right to know all these things about you. And you need to be able to tell him, this is what, this is how I eat. This is how I take care of myself. Right? It'll be a blessing to you because even if you're not married right now, even for you to take on the mission of getting yourself in shape, it's going to be very impactful for your marriage. Very impactful. You'll carry it. If you develop this physical discipline along with the spiritual discipline, it will benefit your marriage. Right? It will take care of intimacy in a bedroom, right? Because you don't have the weight, you're eating well, you're working out, you have stamina, right? Stamina is important in those early days of marriage, girl, okay? You need to be moving around. You need to be preparing yourself, right? So we need to get out of the fairy tale about what marriage is and understand that there is a work behind it. And some of the work behind it, we need to do it now. Once again, no loss if a husband does not come along, right? But chances are, you might. A husband may come and find you. And wouldn't it be a blessing if you were ready? It would be a blessing if you were ready. That you put some stuff in place. You're not going to be perfect. Don't worry about that. This is not about perfection. This is about readiness, right? Preparedness. That's what this is about. Okay. The next point that I wanted to bring up that we should be considering is our mental health and wellness. Mental health. We don't talk about that enough, right? But that's a big deal. When my husband left, I was mentally a wreck. We had gotten married at 19 and we were married for 10 years. And that's all I knew. That's all I knew. And it was a very, very, very difficult time for me, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, right? And so I found a counselor, and he counseled me through the word. He counseled me through truth, right? And he shared with me what had happened and the sinfulness, right? And he loved me in the word. Everything was appropriate, and he was always professional, but he was always a truth teller. I appreciated that so much, right? And at the end of those sessions, and those sessions were, for me, I had 12 weeks, 3 months. And I met with him weekly. And I had, there were conversations that I could have as well with him as needed. And those were once a week. So I had a meeting face to face, and then I had a conversation as well. Wait 1 second, y'all. Okay, I'm better. So anyway, those sessions were such a blessing. I didn't realize how much I was carrying around. I didn't realize the potential for hatred to my ex-husband. I didn't realize the hurt I experienced. I knew it was hurt. I knew, but I had I had walked around carrying so much for so long, doing, I was, if you looked at my first video about being from a married woman to a biblical wife, there were things I was running in a home, and I was in control of so much, and it doesn't matter that he abdicated the throne. It was me. That's his story. That would have been his story. Once again, he's no longer on this earth, but that was my story. And so he started to slowly help me pull back the layers of who I was supposed to be according to God's word, and who I had become that was contrary to God's word, right? And I can't imagine remarrying without having gone through that purging and pruning process and deconstructing that relationship in my younger years. I can't imagine that. I would have brought so much baggage to a new marriage and a new husband, right? I had already brought baggage from my childhood, from my dad and my mom, and how I grew up. I brought that already, right? No, never unpacking any of that, right? And went into a marriage and got more baggage, right? It was like a truckload of stuff going on there, right? And so you're driving around, literally, you're carrying all this stuff with you. What happened when you were 9? What happened when you were a teenager? violent acts against you. There are things. We're reading a book, my sisters in the Lord and I, called Gospel Treason by Brad Bigney. And I will tell you, we carry around idols from situations that we go through. And these idols pop up to protect us, right? To make us feel like we're protected, right? And I had a whole bunch of those, right? And so unpacking those idols didn't come till later. I didn't even know about those, but I know about them now, and I'm telling you about them. Sometimes when we go through things when we're younger or even when we're older, doesn't matter. We create protective mechanisms to help us endure, the hard times, to help us endure the uncomfortable, the terrible, the horrible times that maybe you've experienced. And I'm telling you that you need someone to help you unpack and unload all that stuff, right? To help you deconstruct that hard time you endured, right? I needed somebody to help me come to terms with what was going on, and what went on, and what my responsibility was, and how it can't be a blame game. It can't be me saying, well, and being comfortable in that. No, the Lord used this counselor to help bring me face to face with my own sinfulness. Why do we do things? I was led astray by the lust of my own heart, right? I did things because I simply loved the sin behind doing it. I did it because I was sinning, and at that particular time in rebellion against God, even as a believer, and I did what I wanted to do, right? And so he was straightforward. He came from scriptures, and he spoke the truth in love. And I mean, when I tell you that every time I had a box of tissue in the beginning going through this, sitting in that man's office, listening to him, it was amazing. But I was being cleansed. I was being renewed, right? I was being prepared. I was a single mother being prepared. I didn't even realize the Lord was preparing me for a husband. Of course, when I went into it, once again, I only went into it because I knew I needed help. I felt like my world was gone, and I didn't know my place anymore. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I only knew what I was doing. What am I supposed to do now? Right? And so I would encourage you, sister, my sister in the Lord, that you would get to a counselor. I prefer a Christian counselor. There are lots of organizations out there. I put some in notes that perhaps you should be trying to find and getting involved with, to have somebody point you, an objective voice. They don't have any skin in the game, right? You come in and they are, taking the scripture and unfolding them before you and helping you find the path and the truth that you need to be on, right? God's truth, God's path. But man, when so much is going on, sometimes you have children depending on you, bills depending on you, right? All this stuff is on your shoulders, right? And you're feeling, I got to do this, right? I can't fail. Man, that's a lot of pressure to be under. And a lot of us need help, right? We need mental clarity. The Lord made us. We're complex creatures, right? He made all the other things first in the world. And on the sixth day, he made man in his own image, right? Male and female, he made us, right? And we have a lot of complexities. We're not simple creatures, right? We are complex. And there's a lot that goes on when we go through trauma in our early lives, and we go through the bitterness of a divorce, and when we are experiencing so much in our lives, we need help sometimes. It's okay. Your girlfriend is good to talk to. I'm not saying she's not. but I'm also saying that she's probably not enough. Good starting ground, a good sister in the Lord that can point you to truth. You know, your mom, a believer, can point you to truth. You know, a church home where you are surrounded with people that are going to speak truth. Those are wonderful. You know, I've always said that. But also, just know that you need to find yourself a Christian counselor. Okay? So that's all I have for you. Okay? Just to recap, we talked about physical upkeep. We talked about physical health and wellness. And we also just concluded with mental health and wellness. So I hope it's been a blessing to you. If it has, please subscribe to this channel. Pass this information along to other single mothers who might need it, who desire to be married one day. And I'll be coming up with part 3 just shortly. Okay, until we meet again, I love you. Bye for now.